Hi, I'm Daniel Landstandig, and this is Innovation 19. Today we're talking with Dr. Louis Profeta. Dr. Profeta is an emergency physician at St. Vincent Hospital of Indianapolis. That's a level 1 trauma center, so to put it mildly, he has seen some things. But not only has Dr. Profeta cared for more than 60,000 patients, he's also used his expertise and experience to write incredibly real essays on topics like drug and alcohol abuse on college campuses, which have been read by millions of people. He also is the best-selling author of the critically acclaimed book, The Patient in Room 9 Says He's God. He was named a LinkedIn top voice for readership in healthcare numerous times, and he's quickly becoming one of the most widely read opinion essayists in America today. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Doctor, let's start off with the big question that I'm sure everyone wants to know. What's it like being on the front lines right now dealing with COVID-19?
I mean, I'm old enough that I went through training during the middle of the HIV pandemic or epidemic. So in a lot of ways, it feels like that. It feels like being in the wards during HIV. At the beginning, back in March, I mean, it was incredibly terrifying. I mean, we did not know which way all this was going to go. We were looking at each other, wondering if our partners were going to fall sick, if our spouses, our kids. So, back in March, man, it was incredibly terrifying. But, as we have developed new technologies, and we've developed new therapeutics, we understand the disease process better. It's certainly more tolerable than it was. So we're handling it. We're doing it. And I'm proud of the medical community as a whole.
I saw on your Twitter that you recently received the COVID vaccine. So what was that moment like for you and your fellow healthcare workers?
That was incredibly empowering. It was interesting. You could see a lot of the doctors and the nurses getting vaccinated that were crying in the vaccine lines because, if you are not in the hospital environment or the nursing home environment, you really cannot feel what it has been like for us and the amount of heroism and the amount of sort of emotions all of us have been going through. It really was. It was an incredibly empowering moment in my life, a pinnacle moment in my life. And, I think tomorrow I go in and get my second shot. So thank God this is going the way we had hoped it would.
Doctor, I've read your work and seen you speak a number of times and absolutely loved your article in particular from 2016 that said these 4 words might offend you, but may also just save you. And those 4 words are, it's just a job.
Yeah.
But I wonder, has your view that being a doctor is just a job shifted at all over the years? How do you see that now?
Well, it's funny you should say that. It sure as hell shifted since COVID started. When this all came down initially, I'm far enough in my career that my wife and my kids were like, Dad, don't go to work. I mean, you've done enough in society. Just stay home. Let somebody else handle it. And it was the first time where I went, no, you know what? This is bigger than me. I got to go. I got to help. I got to go in. And I think this is the very first time I ever sort of look back at that article and go, well, maybe I was wrong. But I still subscribe to the basic tenets of it, that it is just a job. It's a wonderful, magical, mystical way of making a living. So I'll stick with that article. That's probably the article I'm most proud of writing.
Well, it's reached millions of people and certainly helped a lot of people in healthcare. For executives listening to you speak, one of the things that I think we can all learn from you is this sense of when to turn up the personal energy and when to turn up the impersonal energy.
Very good.
You seem to have a sense about when it's time to have your personal stuff involved and have a sense of empathy and when you just focus and get the job done. So is that something you've always had, or is that something you were forced to develop as a physician?
I think it's essentially going back to that article about these 4 words that may offend you. I mean, that's really what that article is about. That, the personal aspect is just how you live your life outside of work. And, if you can separate out the work you from the life you're going to be a lot more happy. People talk about this whole notion of work-life balance. There is no such thing. It should be life. And oh yeah, by the way, I have a job.
Apart from the vaccine, what kind of future innovations are you excited about in medicine right now? We're coming up in this age where there's 3D printing and robots doing surgery, and
Yes.
telehealth is becoming really widespread. So is this an exciting time for you, or are you feeling cautious about these types of advancements?
No. I think that we're looking at some of the most incredible technological advances in medicine that we have ever seen. One of the things with the COVID-19 vaccine and the mRNA technology is you realize that this technology was really being pioneered for cancer therapy. In the next few years, we're going to start looking back at chemotherapy and we're going to go, why in the world were we even doing this? Realize this same technology can be used to identify proteins on the surfaces of cancer cells, and we may be able to sort of prime the body's immune system to attack cancer. And that's what we're looking at here. So much of this innovation comes from sort of ability to sequence DNA and create new and novel proteins. I think it's an incredibly exciting time for the pharmaceutical industry. Sort of another area that is going to be, I think, popping up in the next few years is xenotransplant. And what I mean by that is there's a researcher in the United States here, Dr. Alfred Techter, and I've written about him before, that is cloning out some of the rejection proteins from pig kidneys. And I think in the next couple of years, I think we may actually see pig kidneys being transplanted into human beings. And I think we may cure a huge portion of population that has been suffering from renal failure. We may see this eventually translate itself into liver failure patients and stuff. So I think that there's a real exciting time in immunobiology and cancer research right now. I'm thrilled where we're headed.
It is really exciting when you consider that switching out a kidney or a liver might be a normal medical procedure in the future. It's amazing. From your perspective, how do you see the world of emergency medicine changing? What is technology doing to transform the world of emergency medicine in the next 10 years?
Boy, you ask a really good question. I mean, if you just look at emergency medicine over the last 25 years, the level of acuity now and how sick these patients are in the emergency department has just absolutely skyrocketed. But another thing that has really happened too is that the ER has sort of become the dumping ground for a lot of primary care things. I think that we're going to start to see a shift of a lot of those minor cases out of the emergency department, which really needs to happen. And that's going to be done vis-a-vis telehealth and things like that. We're starting to realize, especially with COVID-19, that a lot of the stuff that we've been taking care of in the hospital environment, we can really take care of over a computer screen. We've all known this for years.
So, there's this weird thing about the emergency room where people show up in their most acute state and expect you to fix them. And meanwhile, they've had these problems that have gone on for days, weeks, months, years. It's not like they just came down with some acute thing moments before they decided to go. I mean, not always, but it happens sometimes where people have these long-term problems, they don't pay attention, and then it's like a surprise to them that they're ill.
Yeah.
You've undoubtedly experienced this 1,000 times.
Sure.
What can we learn from those types of interactions that can help us to fix our health crisis in this country?
Well, you just asked a really great question. I mean, that is so multifactorial. It's everything from cultural, it's everything from not trusting the system, it's everything from being in a state of denial. But if I were to go back, and one of the articles I wrote was an ER Doc's 5 Simple Solutions to Fixing Healthcare in America. One of the solutions that I came up with, or I suggested at least, was that we need to put doctors back in the public schools. And if you put a physician, and I mean a real practicing physician, in a public school system, especially some of the most at-risk schools in America, where we're able to do yearly exams on these students, to counsel them on everything from smoking to obesity to drug and alcohol related things to gang violence, on and on. I think that you fix a lot of the problems in society, poverty-based problems, everything from education, on and on, years down the line. But almost all those issues that you talk about, if you were to go back in time, they stem from educational deficits at an early age. Poverty breeds sort of poor decision-making, poor lifestyle choices. It carries its fingers and all through society. So if we have to go back to the grade school junior high and high school days to fix these problems, or else they just continue into adulthood.
So you take physicians, you put them into public schools. What are you hoping comes of that? What are you hoping they take away?
Well, again, if you can get young people to make sort of lifestyle choices early on, I was blessed enough to give the commencement address at my high school a couple of years ago, which was one of the highlights of my life.
A great honor.
But going back and talking to at-risk people about the need for a lifetime of education, a lifetime of learning, I don't care how much it is, and then opening yourself up to a diversity of thought, not just, and making friends with people who don't look like you, pray like you, vote for like you, or love like you, and debate respectfully, and have open and honest conversations with each other and get to know each other better on. And I think that it's one of the reasons why I like to start putting doctors back into schools, because I think that awareness about the human condition, I think that brings a unique perspective that young people, especially people that are at risk, I'm always amazed about how young people will open up to me much more so than they may open up to other teachers and stuff like that, because they know that you have sort of a little different perspective on the world, that you understand things a little bit on a little different level. And I think that we should open ourselves up as physicians, especially emergency physicians. We need to go back out with the communities. It's one of the reasons why I traveled to college campuses all over America, and I talk about issues like drug, alcohol, sexual assault issues on college campuses, because I think I bring in a unique perspective. I think all ER docs do.
For sure. In your most viral piece ever, you wrote, "I will look at your Facebook profile before I tell your mother you're dead." Definitely a sobering headline, and you discuss using social media as a way to learn a little bit more about your patient, to kind of grasp their humanity before delivering the worst news that any parent could possibly imagine. Tell me more about this article and where this idea came from.
Well, realize that that's not what that article's about. And what I mean by that is that article was written with the idea of giving parents a framework for which they can talk to their kids about risk-taking behavior. And that is why that article went viral, because every parent can pick up that article, because that article takes you through about what is about to happen when I go into that quiet room and tell your mom you've been killed. Okay, or tell your dad you've been killed. So parents try to put into words when they discuss these issues with their kids, and it never really resonates. And what I did was create a visual framework that a parent can take this to their child, sit and say, read this, and look at them and say, this is how I will react. This is what will happen to me. This is the wake, the damage you will leave behind. And this is how I love. And this is what I will look like in my moment of despair. And when I go to college campuses, those are the things that really resonate with the students. I actually will play act and act like a father who's just been told their kid's been killed. And you can sit there and watch an entire auditorium full of grown college-age men just bow their head down and sob. And that's what it takes, is that it's a way of teaching students love. And yeah, I'll do it occasionally, because it sort of brings the humanity back into the picture. If you look them up on social media, because as I said in the article, you're just sort of a dead bag of meat right at that moment. And sometimes we lose our humanity. And when I can see you with life in your eyes, the way you look, or with your mom at the beach, or playing with your dog, or going to prom, or what have you, all of a sudden you become a little bit more of a person, and all of us can empathize a little bit better, and it makes it, I guess, a little easier.
Well, you know what? I love that you did that. It takes courage, and it's not an easy topic to cover with young adults and their parents, but it creates a conversation, and you may have saved quite a few lives. I mean, it seems that kind of straight talk is just missing in our culture today, like a real look at consequence.
Well, we've become a society of chicken shits. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, everybody is so afraid of saying something and hurting somebody's feeling, or because the way social media has become, nobody will take any risks anymore. No, and you have to have a pretty thick skin. You got to be pretty brave to write content like that on social media, because I'll get flooded with things. People, how dare you? You must be a horrible doc. You must be so unempathetic, and you can't please everybody. If you write an article about that you shouldn't club puppies to death with a crowbar, there'll be 50 people that'll tell you that you are intolerant to puppy clubbers. And so, you have to be brave. And the trouble is, especially in corporate America today, there's so much cowardice in corporate America, and an ability just to be brave and to stand up to bullies and just tell them, you know what, go to hell. I'm going to write this anyways.
Well, I love that. God bless America, man. I love that attitude.
It's funny. I'm actually doing a fair amount of writing for corporate execs now to help them get some of their messages out that they want to portray, because they're just so afraid out there. And I tell them, hey, just throw caution to the wind. You're going to be okay.
What is it that gives you this unabashed bravery? Is it just that you feel like life is short and you've seen it end to end, and so just go for it already, or what?
Well, it's because I know what real problems are. I mean, that's what every ER doc in America is. When we see some of this stuff on social media, we see people going crazy and crying about this item and that item. You're like, dude, that's not even close to being bad. I said, you want to see bad? Come in and look at a 14-year-old that's been sex trafficked for the last 6 months. You want to see bad? Look at a cerebral palsy patient that has no family members, been, wadded up in a group home with pressure ulcers and maggots rotting their toes out, or a homeless vet, and I'll show you bad. I'll show you things to really be sad about. So, yeah, I tend to understand my blessings, and I understand the blessings of having good health, and so we sort of lose our patience maybe a little bit, and
it's so true. It's so true. It's easy to lose track of our blessings and lose the plot. Fairly easy.
Oh, easily. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. So yeah.
So how do you decompress outside of work? I'm guessing you don't watch medical dramas on TV, although if you did, that'd be interesting.
Hell no. You know what I do? I sit on my back porch. I sip a bourbon or a scotch. I smoke cigars. I cook barbecue chicken on the grill. I garden in the backyard. I cut my yard. I usually cut my next door neighbor's yard too, because I just like mowing the yard. So, and I love being around my friends and my family, and I enjoy, I enjoy being alive, and you don't have to be outraged all the time, okay? And just because, you can be happy. You can be happy even during times of incredible political strife. You don't have to be outraged all the time. You can have a good time. That's what living is about.
I love your perspective. It definitely, today, for me, brings me back to earth, and I appreciate that. And, I think a lot of people who listen to this are going to be encouraged that not everything is so serious.
You don't have to feel guilty about being happy either. Why are we made to feel guilty about feeling good? Guess what? I don't feel guilty. I've done enough in my life, and I do enough things out there that I'm going to enjoy myself when I can.
Incredible conversation. Thank you so much for the work you've done over this last year with COVID patients, for the contributions you've made to so many families and so many people that you've met and served. You probably don't even know the impacts that you've made over the years.
Well, it's still also a privilege. It's also magical, and I am blessed that people have trusted me with their care, and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to become a doctor, and I hopefully I can continue to do it.
Thank you for listening to Innovation 19. If you like what you heard today, please consider leaving a review, subscribing, and sharing with friends who might enjoy.